Hey you guys, I hope y'all are having a wonderful, blessed week, and I'm looking forward to sharing this word with you guys today that the Lord was speaking to me about earlier this morning. And so I made a podcast earlier today on a portion of this word, and so just to give you a little run through of what that was very quickly. It was called Shedding the Old and Dawning the New. But the word dawning was spelled D-A-W-N, but it was a play on words because I meant dawning like D-O-N, like put on. So shed the old, put on the new. But I, in the title, spelled it D-A-W-N because dawning means the appearance of something, like light being shown, it coming into reality, like before you, it appearing before you. And so I just felt like the Lord is speaking to a lot of us right now that we need to put off the old and put on the new. And although we may not see the new right now, we can know that the Lord is saying that it is going to appear. It's appearing. So with this word that he was speaking, shedding the old and dawning the new, one of the things that I felt like the Lord was highlighting with this was that he needs us that need to hear this. Okay, there are some of us that have been in cynicism, like we are at this place where we think that things are never going to change, or it's like we have distrust. And we feel that we're not going to see things come together the way that we would hope. Like we've just given up hope and we've kind of turned into a cynic. And so if that is you, the Lord just wants to encourage you in that to like break free from cynicism and have hope, have faith to know that it's a new day. A new day is dawning. Arise and shine, the glory of the Lord is upon you. Things are getting better, and it's not going to be like it was last time, like it's going to be different. And so one of the stories that the Lord was using to kind of speak to me with this word that he was already speaking to me about, and with cynicism and everything, was he kind of gave me this parallel, I feel like, with the story of Joseph. And so with Joseph, he was first given a coat to put on by his father. And it was like a coat of favor, and it gets put on him. And when this coat is put on him, when this new thing is put on him, it gets stripped away from him, and he ends up going to a pit, okay? So then, in the story of Joseph, it's not mentioned that he's given a new coat, but we see that he has a new coat because there's another place in scripture in the story where he is around, I believe it was Potiphar's wife, which was, I believe, someone who worked under Pharaoh. And so he was around Potiphar's wife, and she was trying to get him to sleep with her. And so she keeps making these advances towards him, and eventually she grabs a hold of his coat. So we see that he has a second coat, and she grabs it, and once again Joseph flees, and this coat, once again, a second coat, is stripped from him. It's taken from him. It's stolen from him. Then we get towards the end of Joseph's story. Well, closer to the end in scripture. Maybe it's chapter 40, I believe. And here he ends up interpreting these dreams for the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh ends up clothing him with new garments. So he gets clothed, and that's the word that's used in the scriptures. It says that the Pharaoh clothes him. And I just felt like I was looking at that pattern and thinking about new things being put on us. I was thinking of it symbolically in that way. Okay, the Lord calls you into a new season, and there's this new place that you're in, but these things get stripped from you. And so with Joseph, The first experience he had was he was stripped and he landed in the pit. The second time he was stripped when something new was on him. He was stripped and he landed in the prison. The third time he got clothed and he ended up in the palace. So from the pit to the prison to the palace. You hear that probably a lot. But I felt like what the Lord was saying was like, break free from cynicism. Break free from having a distrust and believing that things aren't going to work out and having this thought that this is going to be a repeat of the last time. Because Joseph could have had that thought. He could have been like, you know, things are never going to get better for me. But Joseph, it seems to sound like he trusted the Lord like throughout his journey and throughout the Lord stripping him. And like the Lord knew all along like what he was doing, and the Lord allowed him to be stripped. Just like there's probably areas in your life where you feel like you have been stripped of some things. Well, the Lord allows the stripping, but it's when he removes these things from us and he prunes these things off of us, he's able to clothe us and put something new on us. And right now, I feel like the Lord is just saying, this is a time of being clothed. It's no longer a time of being stripped. You don't have to think that you're going to remain in a pit, because this is the time where I want to promote you. I want to elevate you. And that's just like what I felt the Lord speaking earlier today. And so a scripture that the Lord was pointing out to me was Isaiah 52, where it says, "Awake, awake, put on your strength, O Zion. Put on your beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city, for there shall no more come into you the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake yourself from the dust and arise. Be seated, O Jerusalem. Loose the bonds from your neck, O captive daughter of Zion." So it's time for you to loose the bonds of cynicism that are around your neck and believe and trust that the Lord has something new for you, that a new day is dawning in your life, and that this is a time of clothing for you and not of stripping. And so I was looking at the word beautiful garments in this scripture where it says, "Put on your strength, O Zion, put on your beautiful garments." And so I looked at what the word beautiful meant in the Strong's Concordance. And, the word beautiful, it meant beauty, finery, but the way that the word was used, that particular word, was in Isaiah 3, for example. This word beautiful is used to describe beauty or finery that was snatched from the Lord, that was taken from the Lord. And so like that made me think of Joseph too, of like the Lord allowed that beautiful coat of his to be snatched from him. Like it was by the Lord, because it landed him in the places that he needed to go to get to where the Lord was trying to get him to, and to do what he needed to do inside of Joseph. Because it's interesting, if you think about it, like at the beginning of the story of Joseph, I think it said he's 17 years old, and the Lord gives him this dream of where he's going to be ruling and reigning over his brothers, and his father gives him this great coat of many colors that shows his favor, and he shares the dream with his brothers and with his father, and I believe his mother too, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And so although Joseph probably didn't mean it in any type of way, like it was a little immature of him, and it could have came off as a little prideful, and so all of that ended up getting snatched from him. And I believe it was a moment of humbling for him, where the Lord was starting this process in him to humble him and prepare him for promotion, because the Lord exalts those who are humble. The Lord exalts those who are humble. And so that word just, again, made me think about the story of Joseph. And so beautiful garments could also mean, like I just said, in the Strong's Concordance, it was saying like that word was used to mean like the beauty being of finery being snatched from the Lord. Let's see. So maybe let's go ahead and turn here real quick. So Isaiah 3, where I was referencing, where it's using that word beautiful, and it's using it in the way of talking about beauty or finery being snatched from the Lord. So it's Isaiah 3:18, and it says, "In that day, the Lord will take away the finery of the anklets, the headbands, and the crescents, the pendants, the bracelets, and the scarves, the headdresses, the armlets, the sashes, the perfume boxes, and the amulets, the signet rings and nose rings, the festal robes, the mantles, the cloaks, and the handbags, the mirrors, the linen garments, the turbans, and the veils." So this is Isaiah 3, where he is stripping the daughters of Zion. And in Isaiah 52, he is telling, "O Zion, daughters of Zion, put on your beautiful garments." And so this was the Lord's coming salvation. But in chapter 3 of Isaiah, we're seeing the Lord's judgment on them, because before that, it says, verse 16, "The Lord said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with outstretched necks, glancing wantonly with their eyes, mincing along as they go, tinkling with their feet." And then it goes on to just say like what the Lord was going to do in judgment. But all of this is talking again about pride. And so the Lord sees pride, and pride cometh before a fall. So the Lord came and stripped them to humble them, and then came in and saved them. And so maybe you have been stripped because the Lord wanted to do a humbling process in you to prepare you, to promote you, because once again, the Lord exalts the humble. Okay? I love this too. So verse 2, Isaiah 52 verse 2 says, "Shake yourself from the dust and arise." So the word dust in the Strong's Concordance means humiliation, utter defeat, or being crushed. And so when the Lord has stripped you, you have probably felt feelings of humiliation from how he has stripped you, and utter defeat from how he has stripped you, and you have been crushed from how he has stripped you. But we know the crushing produces oil. And so, shake yourself from the dust. Shake off that humiliation. All right, like I was talking about at the beginning of this video, the word that the Lord was speaking. Shed the old, don, put on the new. Shed the humiliation, shed the shame, shed the utter defeat, and put on the new. And arise. Put on your strength. So, Isaiah 60. "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. And so also, to go back to that word beautiful in Isaiah 52 in the Strong's Concordance, another meaning that was underneath that was it was saying that it also referred to dignity and honor and glory. Like in Exodus, I believe, where like the Lord instructs Aaron and his sons to put on new garments, something along those lines. It says garments of glory, garments of dignity. And so that's what the Lord is wanting to speak to those of you that need to hear this today, where you have been crushed, where you have been stripped. That is of the past. That is old. There is a new season here, a new day dawning. And the Lord is saying that he is dawning, putting on you his light, his glory, dignity, and honor. You have been crushed. Shake off that crushing. Shake off that humiliation and put on what the Lord is putting on you, the dignity and honor and glory, the glory of God. So arise and shine, for the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. So I believe that is all that I have for today. But go check out the podcast that I uploaded today on that word, shedding the old, donning the new, because in that episode I go over 3 different practical steps that you can do to shed the old and don the new. Just 3 things that I felt like the Lord was highlighting to me to share with you guys. So you can find that in the bio, and I hope y'all have a great, wonderful, Jesus-filled, blessed day. See y'all later.